and he's like, he's out for revenge. He's gonna take this gang out. He says, "Tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me."
You tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me. You hear?
The internet is saying that Wyatt wasn't the pale horse, but the pale horse is actually Doc Holliday.
The most fascinating parts of this movie actually supposedly happened according to... Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. Michael, why are we here?
Today we are reviewing Tombstone. Val Kilmer has recently just passed away, and it's got us thinking a lot about his older films. And so we wanted to talk about his iconic character and a great film, Tombstone.
In Tombstone, crime ruled the streets. Violence stalked the innocent. And every stranger was your enemy. Until Wyatt Earp and his brothers arrived. And now, all hell is about to break loose. Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Bill Paxton, Jason Priestley, Sam Elliott, Dana Delaney, Michael Biehn, Powers Booth, Charlton Heston.
You gonna do something or just stand there and bleed?
Tombstone is a 1993 film. Directing credit went to George P. Cosmatos. This is the IMDb summary. A successful lawman's plans to retire anonymously in Tombstone, Arizona are disrupted by the kind of outlaws he was famous for eliminating. This movie stars Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, and so many people. There's a lot of people that were in this movie. Even older actors from older westerns are in this movie. This may be, it's on the list, a lot of lists, for the best western ever made. I would say it's the best western not starring John Wayne.
Right. Since John Wayne holds so many
great westerns. Also Clint Eastwood. Maybe
Clint Eastwood,
put
sure.
him in there too. This movie had a troubled production, like a major troubled production. It was originally going to be directed by the writer of the script, Kevin Jerry. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. Jarre. He passed away in 2011, but he was famous for a ton of stuff. He wrote a couple of Rambo movies. He wrote Glory. He wrote The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. I mean, the guy was a great script writer, but he was not a director. He ended up getting fired from this film, and they brought in Cosmatos, and Cosmatos nobody liked. The rumor mill, a few years before Val Kilmer passed, he claimed that Kurt Russell was the true director of this film. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. Kurt Russell denies it, probably out of respect for the people who worked on it. There are other rumors that Andrew G. Vina, one of the executive producers, spearheaded that movie into becoming a final product. Supposedly, he ordered a bunch of reshoots towards the end of the production, and he was in charge of the final edit. That is according to legend. If you don't know the Wyatt Earp story, the basics are he moves to Tombstone to start a business. He's got his brothers there. The lawlessness of the town drives him and his brothers into becoming lawmen. They start cracking down on the law, and the famous gunfight of the OK Corral, which, by the way, is this movie is the most true to what really happened. It was about as fast as it happens in this movie.
We grew up watching the old film, the film called The Gunfight at the OK Corral,
With Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas.
And the gunfight takes up 30 minutes maybe of the film.
Yeah, of the film. Yeah.
And that's not
accurate.
That's not how it really was. Yeah.
According to newspapers at the time, the gunfight at the OK Corral lasted less than 10 minutes or something like that. It was a bunch of, and then it just kind of became this legend of Western folklore. Wyatt Earp lived to be at a ripe old age. He lived into the 19th century. He was alive and to see early Westerns. Initial thoughts, I guess we should get into.
Well, first off is like, this is the best acting we ever see from Val Kilmer.
Yes.
Everybody talks about how he never was nominated for an Oscar. He should have been nominated for an Oscar.
Yes.
In this film, I agree with that 100%. He had a speech coach
to get the Southern aristocrat dialogue.
Southern aristocrat lingo down.
You retired too?
Not me. I'm in my prime.
And how he plays this part is quite amazing, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we watched it as kids, there's a lot of dialogue you just don't get as a kid. But then like watching it as adults, you catch on to a lot more.
There's a lot of taunting dialogue.
No, now go away or I shall taunt you a second time.
Where they're like just kind of getting like in each other's faces, and you don't really know that that's what is being said. But according to if you do any research about the dialogue in this, like I'm Your Huckleberry was a very famous like challenge to people. So that was said all the time. I'm a Daisy if you do was said all the time. So these were like slangs of the time, and they had fed this into this script, which is, you hear the actors talk about the movie and they talk about the script. They say the script was a phenomenal script, and that's why they all were so obsessed with getting made and finished.
Yeah. It really, at its core, it's really kind of a bromance story with Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday.
100%. Yeah.
And it's really good that way.
Yeah.
I think it's great the way it is. There's a line where a guy asks Doc Holliday, "Why are you helping Wyatt?" And he's like, "Wyatt is my friend." And the guy's like, "I got lots of friends." And Doc's like, I don't. And so it's just a story of these two, and they're kind of fighting against crime, bringing it down to its simplest form.
That's really what holds this movie together. It's really what makes this movie.
Exactly.
Because it's their relationship. There's women characters, but they're all kind of secondary. And there's his brothers, Wyatt Earp's brothers, and they're all kind of secondary to these two lead characters, which is the way to go. It's the way to go. And you get this feeling that they've all got history together. They all know each other from a different time. And the great thing about doing that in a movie is it gives history with the characters, and that's something that you kind of build upon, which is great. This movie is just top notch movie.
A couple first thoughts I noticed watching this film again, having grown up on it, not noticing some of these things. But one thing I thought was interesting was very beginning, they show the cowboys and they're at like a wedding of I guess a guy that had betrayed them, or he was a cowboy but decided to leave the cowboy gang. And so they kill him and his bride. And the priest is speaking in Spanish and talks about Revelations. Behold, the pale horse, the man who sat on him was death, and hell followed with him. Revelations 6:8. And hell follows with him, right? Now, Johnny Ringo kind of interprets it and tells the guys about it. They're all standing there kind of talking about it. And then if you notice the next scene, it shows a train coming in, and then it shows Wyatt Earp get off the train. So behold a pale horse. And then, we should probably do spoilers for this.
Spoilers now. I'm coming after you guys, and hell's coming.
I'm coming after anybody who wears a red sash. I'm killing him. Let them all know. And this is after his brother's been killed by the gang, and he's out for revenge. He's gonna take this gang out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, "I tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me." Which I just thought, anyway, it was interesting to see that kind of connection. This is interesting because the internet is saying that Wyatt wasn't the pale horse, but the pale horse is actually Doc Holliday.
No, the movie's trying to make Wyatt the pale horse. I disagree.
Interesting because
he's pale for most of it.
He does kill, and we're in spoiler territory, but he does kill Johnny Ringo.
That's a liberty taken by the movie too. There's no evidence to suggest that he was. Nobody knows who killed Johnny Ringo. Also, nobody knows who killed Virgil Earp, Wyatt's brother. That's still a mystery too.
They make the reference of the pale horse. Hell follows with him. Next scene, you see it. You first see Wyatt getting off the train. It's also at the train where he says that to Ike.
Yeah, Ike Clanton. Yeah,
good actor that guy, because he kind of captures
Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang, you not even recognize him. He's the villain in the Avatar movies, the general or colonel.
No way.
Yeah, same guy.
What the fuck?
You would not recognize him.
Well, in different acting, because he's like
coward.
This squirmish when he's playing the cowboy, he's this squirmish.
Well, he was known
weasel of a man.
Yeah, known to be a coward. He ran away from the OK Corral. There were so many times where they almost killed him, and he ended up dying during a robbery or something like that. Years after all of this, and he did leave the cowboy gang. He's a good actor. All the actors in this are. Let's take a minute and talk about them. So, like Billy Bob Thornton's in this before he became famous. I mean, there's
small part.
Yeah, small part. He even improvised most of his lines just because they didn't have any lines for him. There's old actors like Harry Carey Jr., who most people don't know who that is, but in The Searchers, he's the one that's looking for Lucy.
Okay.
And he plays the Sheriff White. It's the same
no
actor.
Way. Yeah. All right.
Like 40 years later. Charlton Heston is in this movie.
Plays a small part. The rancher Hooker.
Yeah, Hooker Ranch. He was supposed to have a bigger part, but they ended up cutting out most of his scenes. Like we said, this movie had a very troubled production. This is one of those rare movies where the testament of the actors and their drive to actually get the project finished might have made that happen. Because with the firing of the director, usually that's enough to derail a movie.
Yeah. And you can kind of see it a little bit at the end of the film. It does seem like they kind of have a bunch of like shoot him up fight, like shoot, and then they have a little scene, and then they have more shoot him up, fight, and it kind of the cutting and stuff. It just seemed a little bit messy.
And that probably is due to the fact that they didn't really have a ending for the movie. Then they decided to do it with voiceover. They got, they had the scene where Doc dies, and that's kind of the end of the story. That's where the story needed to end. They don't really end it there because they have him go find the actress that he's been eyeing for most of the movie. The real story is in the characters of Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp, which is fitting for it because that's what I think raises it above a regular Western because of that friendship. So, and
the acting, the iconic acting,
yeah, for sure,
from both really, but especially from Val Kilmer.
Well, and let's not downplay the script either, because the script was
some of these lines. Oh
these
my gosh.
lines are phenomenal. And so what happened in 1993, and I remember this, it was like the summer of quoting this movie. People quoted this movie endlessly. That's a sign of a movie that's made an impact on people, right? There's only a few movies you can say that to. I don't even think you could quote a modern movie nowadays and still think to yourself that people would all get it, like everybody would get it. So
if somebody asks, like, basically, are you game to do something, and if I reply with I'm your Huckleberry, and somebody gets that quote, it's kind of like one of those moments where you're like, did we just become best friends?
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Like,
yep.
Yeah, like straight up, because they get the reference, you know.
Yeah. Well,
and the other quote I was gonna say when you were talking about Billy Bob Thornton, was a great quote. Are you gonna do anything or just stand there and bleed? It's just like, yes.
You gonna do something or just stand there and bleed?
The greatest taunt of all time.
So great.
When you hear Kurt Russell talk about it, like in recent interviews, he's basically just saying, "Look, it was the script. It was a phenomenal script, and it shows because everybody quotes this movie, and when it came out, everybody quoted it. There was like years there in the 90s where there'd be these movies that come out and they become these phenomenal quotable movies, and I just don't feel like there's a lot of that anymore. I mean, I can't think of anything recent that I would quote endlessly. The Mask was this quotable thing. The Monty Python, the Holy Grail, was endlessly quoted by everyone. Just stuff like that. It's just, and I don't think that's a thing anymore. As far as movies are concerned, with my kids, it's YouTubers that they quote.
Yeah, it's kind of a changed time.
Changed time.
Yeah.
Let's move into our segment, one of our newer segments, If Hollywood Made It Today. I was thinking about this, and I think they would probably make Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp gay.
Probably a love scene.
Yeah, probably have a love scene between them. It wouldn't be this bromance that has, between two heterosexual men, because you can't have that anymore. You can't have, friendships with same-sex people without turning it into some kind of sexual. There's something sexual there. I guess this is the time we live in, right? Do you have anything to add to that?
So the actress would have had to strap on some guns at some point.
Yeah. Yep. There would be that scene where the actress straps on some guns, whoever she is. Maybe they turn one of Wyatt's brothers into a woman, so it's his sister.
Yeah.
And so it's like his sister comes out guns blazing at some point. They'd have to have that scene in it, that obligatory scene.
And probably the sister and the actress would like come save the day or something. The two of them.
The two
together.
Of them. Yeah. They'd come to the gunfight.
Girl boss.
Okay,
they girl boss
they've saved all the lawmen, and then they wouldn't get any credit for it because women are downtrodden like that. And And that's the end of the movie, right? Wyatt and Doc Holliday go off into a room together and boink. And then, way to ruin it, right? Modern Hollywood. Let's get into some final thoughts, I guess.
There's also a call in this movie of
doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing, because
Sam Elliott's
character
yeah,
is kind of one.
This is the most profound moment in the movie, I think, because he's walking down the street and he sees some school kids, and they're about run over by some of the cowboys, and he grabs one of the kids out of the way, and a woman comes to grab the kid from him, and he looks at her face and it's scarred up. And
so she's beautiful, and they did this on purpose.
Yeah, this very
they did this on purpose. You can kind of see what they're doing. She was beautiful with a very large scar down her face. And
it says everything that it needs to say. It's in that moment that he goes, "Oh, holy shit. I'm making money off of this town that is lawless." And he says this, he gives this speech to Wyatt later in the movie where he's become a lawman. And Wyatt's like, "We came here to make money. We came here to do this," and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, "I can't look at these people and see this." And it brings honor to all of them, where before that they're all kind of after the gold and fortune and everything.
Yeah.
It brings honor to all of them when that scene happens. It's a very effective scene. And I don't know who came up with it. I don't know if it was the writer who came up with it, who got fired. I don't know if it was Cosmatos who got hired to come in and fix this movie, or the producer, or it could be any number of these people that chose to do that in this movie. But it brings honor to the characters where it didn't. I don't think they had any honor before.
Mm-hmm. And the way they the brothers, like, one decides to do the right thing and then kind of convinces the other brothers to do the right thing. And it's kind of like, "You're my brother. I
got your back."
Yeah. And then it was interesting because Doc Holliday comes up and he's like, "What is this I hear about you guys about to have a gunfight or something?" And they're like, "This isn't, this doesn't concern you, Doc." And he's like, "That is a hell of a thing for you to say to me." So basically he's like, "I am in this with you guys. You guys are my friends."
What a wonderful movie. Like, it's just a great, great movie. And I think even Kurt Russell, who has had he's probably had a 60-year movie career, maybe even more, because I think he's pushing 70. And
really?
Yeah, he was in Follow Me Boys. It was one of his first movies, and he's a child in it. He's like 11-year-old kid. And he did tons of Disney movies. He did, like, I don't know, 10 Disney movies before he even branched out and started doing other stuff.
Yep.
So he's been acting for 60 plus years. And I think when he dies, this will go down as his biggest movie. This and Escape from New York. Those are going to be the two that people talk about. The Thing, maybe The Thing. Yeah, he's been around for a while. He's been doing this for a long time. So, and those are like his iconic movies. And it's funny to think that it is a brilliant movie when you know about the production of it. Like, there was no vision for it. It just, it fell apart. They fired a director. They hired another one. That one didn't get along with the actors. Michael Biehn, who plays Johnny Ringo, he came right out and said, "I basically spoke to Cosmatos like 3 times, and I didn't talk to him again the rest of the production." And that's
Was that the first?
No,
director?
that's a second director.
Second director.
Because he didn't get along with the actors. None of the actors liked him. You don't hear about that much anymore, like a production that goes awry and then still makes a good movie. You just never hear about that.
Usually it falls apart. Somewhere along the lines, it falls apart.
Yeah. And Kurt Russell liked this character so much, I believe he named his son after this character. So, and his son's acting now. He's in Marvel movies and stuff like that. But it's like this had a big impact on everybody involved. Any last words on this movie?
How great of a scene when Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday, kills Johnny Ringo.
Poor soul. He was just too high strung.
I'm afraid the strain was more than he could bear.
It's a great
great scene.
And the fact that it's kind of made up, like nobody knows who killed Johnny Ringo. They just found him dead. They found him dead under a tree.
Yeah.
But that scene's amazing because Kurt Russell's going to go meet him to have a gunfight, and he thinks that he's going to die. Kurt Russell thinks he's going to die because Johnny Ringo is way better.
I can't beat him, can I? He says to Doc Holliday. And so he goes knowing he's probably going to die.
He goes knowing that he's going to die, and then Doc Holliday takes his place. It's such a great scene because he's like, the fight's not with you, Holliday. And he goes, oh, I beg to differ.
Game for Blood we never got to finish.
We never got to finish. So it's like it's just a great scene all together. And there's so many of those with this movie. I mean, it must be a testament to a great script that the movie could fall apart and everybody still is following along enough with the script to get scenes like that made. And they're just great scenes. The most fascinating parts of this movie, like the river scene, the duel in the river, that actually supposedly happened. It's not as well documented as the gunfight at the OK Corral because the gunfight at the OK Corral was documented by journalists. That's why it's so famous. But the river scene actually supposedly happened according to everybody who was involved.
Well, and I want to say Wyatt Earp had a bit of a invincibility complex where he thought he actually couldn't get
killed,
shot.
Yeah. That's might be a little bit of a legend, but I have heard that where he had a moment when he was young that he thought he was like Samson, where he couldn't be killed by mortal man or whatever. And he died of old age. So go figure. Yeah. Well, and Doc Holliday lived a violent life too, and he died of tuberculosis. So it's like, or consumption, one of the two. Let's end on this. So the scene at the end where Doc's dying and he begs him to leave him is so gut-wrenching because of the performances of Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer. And they're crying and they're saying goodbye. And it was just, it's a really brilliant scene. It's also brilliant because Val Kilmer looks at his feet and says, oh, that's funny. And then he dies. And he dies alone, like he did in real life. And he dies without his boots on, like he did in real life. And that's why he's going, oh, that's funny. So it's a gut-wrenching scene. It's very sad, especially if you've had somebody close to you in your own life die. It hits different. I don't think I've seen this movie since Curtis died. So that scene hit differently. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful movie. Thanks for joining us on this nostalgia-filled review. Check us out on social media, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for The Sword in the Skull.
If you liked this, you are the subscriber we are looking for.
In the meantime, keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See ya.
There you go, son. Now get out of here. You're bothering me.